My brother cut me off from his life because he didn't like the company I kept around me. I was a hard ass back then and batted for my friends, but soon learnt they were not nice people. I tried to make contact with him after I dumped my friends, but he moved on with his life and didn't want anything to do with me. I spiraled into depression soon after because I lost everyone that I've loved and cherished. Somehow I pulled myself together and I'm doing okay now. Last week, my brother contacted me out of the blue and apologized to me. It was a genuine and sincere apology and I sensed a lot of guilt from him. I was happy that he contacted me. He then invited me to his housewarming party, and said that it won't look good if I skipped. I assured him that I would be there. Then our parents called me up and told me that I should put my differences aside, and attend my brother's housewarming party because it's important. That got me thinking that maybe the only reason he apologized to me was to make me attend the party, and not make him look bad because of my absence. The phone call from my parents also made it seem that way. A part of me wants to see my brother and make him happy with my presence, but another part of me wants to skip because I feel like he doesn't care about me but only my presence. Advice. TLDR. Brother who went NC with me more than a decade ago contacted me last week to invite me to his housewarming party, but I feel like he doesn't care about except my presence. Should I go or nah? Edit. I called up his best friend to see if he knows why my brother invited me out of the blue, and after a lot of prodding he told me that they both started a successful business after we cut contact, and my brother recently bought a nice swanky house, so he is inviting close clients, family and friends, and wants to paint a happy picture of a happy family. He also told me that if I skip the party, guests will notice my absence and point fingers at him and ask questions which my brother doesn't like. Greater than last week, my brother contacted me out of the blue and apologized to me. It was a genuine and sincere apology and I sensed a lot of guilt from him. I was happy that he contacted me. I feel like this was the most important part of your post. I highly recommend, if possible, meet with him one-on-one before the party. Gauge his sincerity, hash out your differences and just have a conversation since he's essentially a stranger to you. If he is truly apologetic, he would want to meet with you and vice versa. This. Tell him a party is a bit much for a first meet. I'd ask if he's like to get together at a halfway point for coffee. I agree the focus on the housewarming makes it feel like it's more about the party, but it doesn't mean you need to reject it out of hand. I suggest a meet-up before the party because either everything is going to be superficial to save face or an absolute emotional wreck. You need a face-to-face to really settle the past and then you can celebrate with parties etc. I'm assuming in the last decade your brother has had other get-togethers? Why would your absence from this specific one make him look bad as opposed to your absence from any other social gathering? I say meet up with him a couple days prior to hash things out. That's what I was thinking. Maybe the parents called because they're happy that their kids are speaking again? It feels like a stretch to assume that this one event is just for appearances. Is there more context? I was estranged from my sister for nearly 3 decades. Last year we met up the day after Thanksgiving. Why not Thanksgiving? Didn't want to ruin it if things did not work out. Take it slow, talk before his party and meet up before. Then decide if you want to go. How would your absence make him look bad? Why would anyone be surprised that you weren't there? Honestly, some of his newer friends might not even know you exist. It's little odd that he's putting so much emphasis on a housewarming party. It's not like a wedding or a funeral where your absence would certainly be noticed. It's just a party. People go or don't go, whatever. I think this is just his way of telling you he really wants you to be there. You should go. I am getting heavy vibes that this isn't in America and they have different customs on saving face, etc. I'd see if I could meet up with him one-on-one before the party. If that goes well I'd go to the party. At least FaceTime. Greater than he also told me that if I skip the party, guests will notice my absence and point fingers at him and ask questions which my brother doesn't like. I take issue with this. If your brother hasn't been in contact with you for 10 years, why would anyone notice and or take issue with your absence? Why wouldn't your brother just make up some benign excuse to explain your absence? COVID, food poisoning, a movable scheduling conflict. Why would people suddenly start pointing fingers at your brother? Why is the success of your brother's business and/or housewarming suddenly dependent on you, someone he hasn't spoken to in 10 years? I would ask your brother these questions in a private setting as soon as possible. I'm with quirky movie on this. Call. Say that you'd like to see him but that you two should meet up a day or so ahead to make sure you are both at peace with each other. That's better than your first encounter at his place being really awkward. Dot. If the coffee meet-up doesn't go well, you all can make some kind of polite social excuse. Dot. I'd want to check with him too that he meant it and wasn't being heavily prodded by your parents. Op clearly disrespected and threw away her family. People don't just cut off family for no reason. It takes years or something significant for this to occur. Dot. My take is that the brother wants Op back in his life. But relationships take work. And if Op flakes on the invite, it makes her look like she still doesn't care. That she's not willing to try to make things work out. I do think that a FaceTime or meeting prior to the party is a good alternative if Op doesn't want to attend the party. Dot. Lastly, if the parents are prodding heavily, wouldn't that infer that something truly significant occurred that Op didn't share? It could be that the upcoming housewarming event made him realize that he really wanted you there, and that prompted him to reach out. I don't really understand why anyone would say that. It wouldn't look good if you skipped. I would never notice if a friend's siblings didn't attend their housewarming party. It's not a wedding. So that's weird. But go, take a nice gift, and feel things out while you're there. Maybe this is a chance to get your brother back in your life. Or maybe you'll end up just seeing each other only at the holidays, but you won't know unless you go. Maybe going out on a limb here, but it could also be a clumsy way of saying that it would be a good reciprocal step to accept after the brother reached out with both an apology and an invitation. As in, it wouldn't look good to me as your brother who has just put my guard down to try to repair our relationship. Greater than he then invited me to his housewarming party, asterisk, and said that it won't look good if I skipped. Dot. Who won't it look good to, and why? If you've had no contact in over a decade, why would anyone even expect you to be there? Greater than then our parents called me up and told me that I should put my differences aside, and attend my brother's housewarming party asterisk because it's important. Important to who? And why now? Greater than that got me thinking that maybe the only reason he apologized to me was to make me attend the party, and not make him look bad because of my absence. I can see why you'd think that. This definitely sounds suspect to me as well. Dot. As some others have already suggested, I agree with asking him to meet in private first, to gauge his real feelings and motives. You should meet him before the party. Just you two. See what kind of vibe you guys have. Then go from there. You'll never know for sure if you don't go. You said yourself that his apology was genuine, remorseful, and more importantly, you were happy that he contacted you. The groundwork is all there for repairing this relationship in a healthy way. Just take it slow and feel it out. A party is bad time to see people again for the first time in a decade. Can you go for a coffee with him first? Sounds like he was right about the friends you had and he removed himself for the inevitable drama. A bit hard of a way to do it. I could only see myself doing that if it was like drugs or shady people, etc. But in the end you are his family and I'm sure he misses his sister. I don't see it abnormal to separate yourself from a family member who refuses to see the truth, even if you love them. He's opening the door to you. Take it. And if you reject his offer he might shut you out for good. Especially since it sounds like he was justified in cutting you off to begin with. Sincerely, someone who went through this same thing. You don't get infinite chances in this life. Why would people suddenly notice you aren't there when you haven't been for a decade? How would clients even know you exist? I mean, why not go and feel out the situation? What's the downside even if he is just trying to save face? Maybe everything is an elaborated trap. Tell him that 10 years is a long time. So while you appreciate the invite, you'd prefer to meet up privately instead. Dot. You'll then see if he means it or not. Do you mean privately as in instead of the party? Sounds like Op made some shitty decisions with shitty people and that's the reason for the no contact from the brother. If that's the case, she's in no real position to negotiate her own second chance. If you mean meet up privately to like get reacquainted with one another and hash some things out before going to his party, I'd agree with that. I would ask to meet before the party. Don't go. Ask him to lunch first. See if he even wants to entertain having a face-to-face conversation with you and get to know you. If he doesn't, then don't do him any favors. I'd try to meet up with him before the party. Seeing each other for the first time in 10 years at a party would be kind of weird for both of you. Ask him if he wants to go get dinner or something a few days before. As for the idea he only wants you there for his own image, it's possible to have more than one motivation lead to the same conclusion. Just because his image is one motivation for inviting you doesn't mean it's the only motivation. After all, he could have just never told those clients he had a sister at all. Emo, it sounds like you still want to have a relationship with him and he was the one who cut you off. So if he's changing his mind about that regardless of the reason, it's an opportunity to repair things between you. Yup. Being thrown into a party atmosphere as your first interaction sounds like a no for me, at least. I'd want to meet one-on-one at first. If he refuses, I'd probably skip it. You're kind of right. A housewarming is a special occasion. Special events are a bad place for reunions. You don't get the chance to sit, take each other and the changes in, and there's no proper moment to talk. So perhaps call your brother and see if you can meet up. Then you can always see if there's some rebuilding that can happen by joining his social circle with the housewarming, or if you prefer the distance. Or you could reschedule being present at his housewarming, but then he knows there's room for rebuilding. There's an olive branch here. Sniff a bit more before rejecting. Go to the party. It kind of feels you're self-sabotaging a little. You miss him. Make the effort, and if he isn't genuine, at least you tried. Greater than said that it won't look good if I skipped. I would normally say to not let your parents influence your decision, but the fact that your brother himself said this just proves your suspicion that this is all about looks on his part. Not out of a genuine desire to have you back in his life. I wouldn't go based off this. Yup, your edit confirms this. He is only doing this for appearances. Tell him to kick rocks. Ask him to meet in person one-on-one first before going to the party. I feel like him saying it wouldn't look good if you skipped is an interesting choice of words, made even more interesting by your parents calling on top of it. Makes me wonder who he wants to look good to. Maybe he's engaged and his fiance's family will be there. Or maybe he's trying to impress someone from work. Or maybe it's just a poor choice of words and he's only thinking about you with this invite. However, if the apology was genuine, and you are ready to talk out whatever you need to talk out, I would suggest asking for a meeting before the party. Nothing major, just a Zoom or a trip to a local coffee shop, to say what you need to say and make sure everything is resolved before the party. Could be the brother and the parents have talked about it and agreed that it would be good if the brother reached out, and that it would be reasonable to expect Op to accept the invitation, that it wouldn't look good to the family for Op to not accept. Has been 10 years since you guys have had any contact and your brother wants to restart your relationship at a party? That is nuts. How about a one-on-one lunch or coffee meeting? Hell, just a phone call. I can't imagine a worse venue to re-engage a family member than a party. It is great he wants to re-engage, but that should be in a much more calm, intimate setting. Greater than he then invited me to his housewarming party, and said that it won't look good if I skipped. Won't look good to who? A bunch of people who have never met you? Other family members? Who gives a fuck how it looks to anyone? Sounds like Op is being given a second chance by her brother, so she should give a fuck about how it looks. Unless she wants to go another 10 years no contact with a part of her family. This seems like a mess. First, you were the problem that caused him to cut you off. You admit this, you were in the wrong. So, you are the one who owes apologies and should be grateful for a second chance. But it sure does sound like he's being manipulative about this and using you. Was he ever toxic also? Perhaps you had bad friends because of toxic patterns in your family that encouraged that? Have you ever gone to therapy to sort out your bad decisions and why you made them? Call me suspicious, but it's odd that both he and your parents put so much emphasis on this housewarming party. It won't look good if you skip. That's a weird statement. Does he have and so? I'm wondering if he's trying to play happy family for her benefit. Regardless, no reason to reject this overture if you're interested in rebuilding the relationship. I do agree with others that you should reach out about a one-on-one meeting first.